Welcome to the Deadly Addictions channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about The Gorge. Now, generally, this would be a movie that's right up my alley. I kind of, you know, I'm drawn to like weird sci-fi concepts and even the real long line of bad sci-fi network type movies where they, cheap sets and monsters they just come up with, like, oh, what happens if a fucking piranha and a fucking snake get together, or a alligator turkey, whatever the fuck they are. And again, I only knew this movie from the blurb I saw when I clicked on it online. So, I saw the real one line thing, was not aware of it in general. And when I went into this again, was somewhat excited. I gotta say, the movie kind of feels, I don't know, there's something off about it that really doesn't hold my interest much, which is, again, weird. I'll watch almost anything, and I watch a lot of crap, I admit it. Sometimes I come on and admit I love a movie that I know is kind of bad, or is generally bad outright. Fine, okay. And the movie has moments. I'll give it that. It has some genuine moments that I'm drawn in and kind of into it. It's got action. The premise moves around a lot, and they focus, I think, on the wrong things here and there. Now, first off, the girl in here, she's a joy to watch. Yeah, her name is Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller. Again, these are probably good actresses and actors. And first off, I don't like The Witch. Never liked that fucking movie. Even when I watched it again 2 more times, because people convinced me to watch it again because of how good it was. And I'm glad that they love it. It might be one of those movies that is just not for me. But getting to The Gorge, she's got moments in this movie where, I don't know, it feels like there's 2 directors maybe, or too many hands in the pot. It's directed by Scott Derrickson, and I like some of the stuff he's done from me just clicking on the wiki thing, getting ready to do the podcast. And I don't know, is it just too many elements in here that don't work for me? So first is, you can pick great songs and awesome music, but if it's not used right, it doesn't work. And I think in this movie, that's one of the things that first came to mind. Second was this, you're making a sci-fi action movie and you got this underlying attraction, love thing. I'll get into the plot a little bit. I don't like to go too deep, but this is just one of those movies that really kind of confuses me in why I like or dislike a movie. All right, so right off the bat, one of the best things about this movie is fucking Sigourney Weaver. Oh my God, she looks fucking amazing. Amazing. Give this woman anything she wants in Hollywood. She's a fucking gift to this world. Holy shit, and she looks great. I don't care how old she's getting. She's just amazing. So there you go for casting Sigourney Weaver. And it's a small cast. And, now thinking about it, granted, I don't do super amount of research. I watch it, I jot some stuff down, I read it, and then I get an overview in my head. This small cast should have been used way more slow-paced, thrilling moments rather than just throwing CGI at you. Really, and one thing I'm going to get to is it just annoys me. And it's almost like I did Gladiator 2 review, and I kind of was like, I don't care if things are historic. Now, this has nothing to do with being historic in The Gorge, but, well, maybe, I guess, if you want to talk about, the context, I will, but I don't give a fuck. I don't want to see rhinos and flooding the Coliseum with water to have boats in it. Just stupid shit. Anyway, so there's a lot of things that don't work for me in this movie, but let's quickly just kind of go through it. You got two elite, I guess, snipers, military mercenaries from two sides of the world, right? So you got the East and the West, and the Russian girl, the Taylor Joy, I think her name is right, Drassa, and Miles Teller's Levy. They're picked, you find out, kind of, because they're loners and no one will miss them, that type of thing. And they're given an assignment for 1 year, isolated, you can't make contact with nobody, even the person on the other side of the gorge, which is those two characters respectively. So you've got Taylor Joy on one side, Teller on the other side, and they're supposed to have no contact. And they do a tiny bit of work to build them up before they go in. So you see a little bit of Miles Teller, PTSD, kind of being honest, I guess, about why he's not in the service no more, why he doesn't take jobs. Because Sigourney Weaver wants to know if he's an independent contractor, is he under contract? Sometimes he works for the military still, blah, 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 but he doesn't do it no more on the recommendation of his therapist type thing. And he agreed. So you see that little bit in him. Taylor Joy has a connection to a father or a father figure, a father, I guess, but there's the mom who's not there, and he's got cancer, and he's what was the hook with him? On Valentine's Day, I think he wants to end his own life on his own terms, but she's going to be away. That type of connection, and you see she's alone, but she's got a little bit of quirky in her. I think that's who she is really, because the moments where she's like quirky and doing a little dance or something like that kind of is the time she feels real, if that makes any difference. Okay, so they're each assigned to each side of the gorge for a year, and that's the movie. You want to piece together what they're guarding, because they're not stopping people from getting in, they're stopping things from getting out. Now, once you get into this sci-fi aspect where the gorge is an experiment gone wrong, contamination, and creatures are in this gorge, and it's isolated, and no one can get out. They built these towers to keep them under control, and you've got a system in place where the world doesn't know. What does that mean? Satellites that kind of cloak the, they got these dishes that cloak the area from satellites and Google Earth and shit like that. So, giving the plausibility of this huge gorge, this crevice type opening in Earth. On each side is tower and a facility type thing where they got to man the auto guns and shit like that. So, it has a realistic feel if you're thinking, what could the army have and what would they have maybe a couple of years from now? Because there's no real futuristic shit except for a company that's revealed that does the genetic research, and they have, I guess, superior drones. But there are like auto guns that are like huge things, and it's not too far from understanding that this could be something that Black Ops super rich companies might have. And okay, so there you go. There's a connection formed between the two characters, one on each side. Obviously, super binocular things and even handheld binocular things. You're getting a distance between them, and she makes contact first. He says he can't communicate. She says, it's my birthday, I'll do what I want. And there you go. That's part of the movie. So we've got two sides of the gorge, one protector. Oh, and by the way, when Miles Teller went to the island, he relieved the guy. He did his year. And spoilers or not, so I don't think it's not like it's revealed later, but when he gets onto the helicopter, he hooks himself on, and people kill him and drop him into the forest or the gorge. So right off the bat, you kind of know that these people are expendable. Obviously, no one will miss them, that type of tropey. Think about the characters that makes them good for the job. A year isolated, no communication, and I guess at the end they kill the operatives, whatever. Now, as this progresses, now I'm surprised how the movie felt long. So it's 127 minutes. That's a little too long for this movie, for what it tries to do and where it tries to do it. Because not only is the music not really utilized well, I don't think the story beat elements, editing, work for the movie. So as the attraction grows or whatever, Teller decides, you know what, because I think it's February 14th. She's imagining her father dying. She's isolated. She's like, I'm having a bad day. I wish you can come over and be here with me. And he creates a zip line. He gets over there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Attraction. You're cute. They're both attractive people, obviously. So why fucking not? Yeah, whatever. But they're breaking rules, that type of thing. And again, going through the story beats, it just doesn't feel right. Too much time devoted here with not enough depth or connective tissue that makes you care. And then he's I'm sorry. At one point there's a fucking attack and you see these wooden, mossy, mutated creatures. She gives him the signal to like look, and they start shooting. There's a firefight, and it's supposed to be epic in a sense, and in a way it kind of is on paper maybe, but each side of the gorge is getting scaled by these creatures, and they're shooting them off, or mines go off. Like this whole place is set up so they can't get out, but the people on each side are tasked with keeping them down, and they didn't know anything until this point. But it should be noted that at this point you don't fuck around, meaning regardless, let's say you're two snipers, PTSD, you've each got your own world problems, but then you find out monsters are real, because this is a real world setting. This is not Matrix or superheroes or whatever. And you see these creature monsters, and you're not just seeing them at a distance where it's blurry. No, they see what these things are. Some get up close and personal. And you're going to use a zip line to go over and hang out. Like, my mind is blown. Like, this should have been more like whispers and intense moments of looking around, not just flirting with, attractions and their, I don't know, like, not enough what's going on in this gorge. And then later when they get to it, it kind of doesn't work. And there's one moment, like, she's holding a sign, she's doing a little dance, and he won't dance because he can't. I actually like that moment, because it makes me think that she's a great actress in those aspects and a good actress overall, but she fits that better. And the haircut, she looks okay when she's doing the military stuff, but they were trained well, I guess. But as things go wrong, he on his zip line breaks, explodes, he falls into the gorge, and she just leaps off with a parachute, and that doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know about how attracted you are. You fall in love at first sight, fine, okay. She just leaps into the gorge. They meet up, and now they're at the heart of the matter. And again, my problem with Gladiator, you might use good CGI, you might use it well, but some things will just make me roll my eyes and annoy me. And here, because it is said that one of the first things in the gorge was army units they sent in on horseback cavalry. The creatures are riding horses, and they're mutated fucking wood moss creatures, and it just so stupid to me. Like, well, I think the movie was like Annihilation with Natalie Portman. I fucking love that movie. It's slow. It's got moments of, introspective, like you're wondering this and that. This movie shows it all. It's in your face. It's trying to make this attraction love thing work. And then balls to the wall action with dodgy CGI. And then the premise of the CGI is stupid. I don't want to see these Morse creatures riding horses because they were years ago cavalry. Now, as they fucking explore and try to get out of this fucking gorge, they've got to fight a numerous amount of creatures, blah, 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 spiders. And they finally get to an old reel-to-reel movie and then to the 2000s type computer system. I think they mentioned that, meaning that the gorge is a monitored experiment and, you know, the big company behind it is profiting or keeping an eye on it. There are fail safes that you can blow up the gorge, but they're not doing that. And you find out that the mutated people are the military from the past, and even leading up to not too distant past, because I know they mentioned the 40s and the cavalry and whatever. So it goes pretty far back, but there are, you know, mentions or maybe I'm just not interested at the point, because this movie did have a hard time keeping my interest, that it's currently still being monitored and, you know, drones are going up, because they do see a drone, a high-tech drone, and you find out it's the major company that Sigourney Weaver works for or is in charge of. So they got to get out of the gorge, and again, this should be pretty easy for me. Looking now, kind of like the director, you know, most of the stuff I've seen he's done, I've enjoyed. I don't know exactly what makes this movie not for me. I can see it working for just a premise of, you know, you've got two troubled loners on each side of a gorge. You could give it just a normal premise of, oh, they just don't want, I don't know, let's fuck with the system here. Well, immigrants, right? Oh, okay, one side on each side, and you have a love thing blossoms, right? And you can see where even that premise would work in a spy type movie, and, you know, different sides of the fence, so to speak, but there's a gorge, obviously, you know, big, long distance. And movies like that can work. This could work. In again, I bring up Annihilation. It's sort of an independent feel with the budget not seeming insane, but used well. And that love story, troubled marriage story is just an undertone. And this just tries to, I don't know, it tries to be too much at times. And it should have been more of a quiet thriller that at the end they realize how similar they are, or, you know, what their worth is and their attraction to each other. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe like it has the feeling for me of different directors and different hands in the pot trying to figure this out. But you've got the one great saving grace of the movie is Sigourney Weaver, but I found it odd that when they figure out that Miles Teller's been breaking the rules and he's been hanging out with Taylor Joy, that she's gonna go with them and kill them because it's her mistake. It just felt wrong. You know, for me, if you're gonna, you can think of ahead. Let's say this would have been super blockbuster and they want more fucking movies. You'd want Sigourney Weaver as the head CEO behind the scenes in every movie. And even if she didn't agree, or you'd still, to me, want to leave that open. And you can even have the last scene, her closing a laptop. Like, whatever. So, spoilers again, they're getting out of the gorge, and they set up everything to destroy the cloaking effect, the big satellite dishes. So as the team comes in with Sigourney Weaver, bop, bop, bop. And again, there's a lot of firefights and a lot of showing off of how good of a shot they are. There's even a conversation about the longest shot, who did it, blah, blah, blah. Again, this all should be kind of riveting, drawing you in stuff, but it seems not important and, you know, fluff for the more important things like staring at each other and attraction and they even end this movie on that, which I thought was a huge mistake. So yeah, they get out, they set up the things, Gordon's team comes. Now, the sniper, two people, Teller and Joy, are aware of it. They shoot off in different directions, knowing they have to get a certain distance because this blast radius is gonna fuck everything up, destroy the gorge, everything in it. And Sigourney Weaver's team finds out too late because they didn't know what they were planning. So they jump on the helicopter, spoilers, and don't make it. I thought, what a fucking stupid mistake. Have the people on the helicopter fine. Have Sigourney Weaver in a fucking room. Do you not realize what you have in that sense? I don't care if she agreed only to work a certain amount of days. Like, I'm not even saying this is, I have no idea. I'm making up a story in my head. And she says, no, I'll do the part, blah, blah, blah. I would definitely be in the writer's room going, no, just leave her out of that last scene. What's the fucking point? Yeah, I know she wants to kill them herself because it's her mistake, but what the fuck? Who cares? This is giving people thought about what's really behind the scenes and who's manipulating things. Does she work for the government, a black ops, or a private company? And, you know, the Gorge too, who knows? Anyway, I found it dumb. She gets killed in the team, and Amanda, Amal, whatever the fuck, Taylor-Joy becomes a waitress months later, and Taylor was hurt in the leg. He didn't get enough distance, and he was blasted into the water. You think he's dead? No, no. So months later, he winds up at the cafe, restaurant in beautiful part of a different country, and is sitting at the table and writes a note. I'll have the rabbit pie. Oh shit, what a great callback. And they gotta say, Taylor-Joy looks the best in this scene. She's just wearing a short top, the hair, and again, it's those, oh, we're gonna be slightly romantic and keep things going. It reminds me of a scene in Predators. I don't know why, but there's a scene in Predators where Predators is the movie where all the top threats on Earth, you know, military guys are put on a planet, you know, a hunting ground, and it's a different planet, and they're hunted, and one of them is a prisoner, played by a great actor who's in Justified. Anyway, and they're walking through the forest. Now, mind you, he's broken out by the predators and put on a spaceship and thrown into this planet on a parachute. Has no memory, and he's looking at the sniper girl's ass, and he goes, "You have a great ass," or something like that. And it's, obviously, you can't see her ass in these pants. It's impossible. But he's just so connected to just because he has a really fucking bad scene later. Not PC. The woke era would fucking, you know, cancel that movie right now, and you can tell you what a low life he is. But anyway. You know, she looks great in the, like they train hard to do the military scenes, the way she holds a gun and stuff. But it should have been a quieter, more intense movie. You went a little bit too, you know, romantic, romance type thing. And then it again, I can see why people would like this. Is it bad for me to say women? Like, enough interest that, you know, you can see two troubled people find each other, you know, realize they fill each other's gaps, you know, the Rocky thing. Like, you get it. And maybe that's more than enough to make the movie really enjoyable. But for me, I gotta say, The Gorge is just a little too bland, a little too, I don't know, overreaching. Like, they tried a little too hard in some areas. And it's okay to go nuts and make things, but I would rather a small cast like this, much quieter, more intense, an attraction that's not realized to the end or near the end. Not, oh, I'm gonna jump in this gorge for you because, you know, you came over. And I get it, they're there for months, 6 months, or whatever before they become, I guess, romantically involved, but they're trying to communicate, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we've got an action, kind of sci-fi movie that, I mean, granted, if I talk about Piranha and, whatever fucking movies I've watched, I'm never going to come on here and say what great movies they are that should get an Oscar. But I'm honest about that. I enjoyed them and I fucking had fun watching it. I can't really say that about this. And as I just went up to the top of the page. It's described as a sci-fi fiction, a science fiction romantic action film. So maybe, again, you make movies and sometimes it's to make profit and get that IP out and hold on to a franchise and get the money. I don't think this is that. This is like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's based off a certain novel or a book or a premise and people wanted to, make a movie about a certain concept, but it has the feel of a sci-fi network show movie. No, not like they're locked into these shitty rooms with these bad fucking display screens and monitors, which is in every fucking movie that they made. Because remember, there was a big fad of making a shitty counterpart to a movie, right? So Pacific Rim, big fucking movie, and then they'd make like, Central Lip, and it's a monster movie with robots. It's a same premise, but cheaply done. There's so many of them, it's not funny. At one point there were fucking, every time a movie came out, there was a shitty B counterpart. This kind of feels like that. And I think they went wrong in not bearing down on what would make this movie pretty interesting. Like, there's a couple of cool scenes. Couple of times I'm really drawn into Taylor-Joy's performance and her character. Same with Teller. It's there. I guess that's... I don't really know much of Miles Teller. I thought he was the guy from Terminator Genesis, but that's obviously a different guy. But I'm not going to say there aren't signs that they're great actors and actresses and in given time might become some of the best. I don't know. But it just didn't work. I didn't feel super immersed. I didn't feel invested in everything. Again, I can get a couple of moments that come to mind. Her trying to get him to dance, and one time maybe the music fit. I think she was playing like the Ramones or punk rock, and it kind of fit, who she might be and what she is. And it never held on. It never lasted. It never became a strong point of the movie. Too many weak foundations that were built in the movie, but not fleshed out enough and not, to me, quiet enough. This movie had a cool sort of premise setting, and you could have played with that a lot more. You could have played with the dark brooding aspect of each of them a lot more in a better way that fit the story. And again, yes, two attractive people in weird points of their life, in a weird part of the country. Oh, by the way, they don't know where they are. No one tells them. They don't know, what part of the world they're on. Miles Teller has an idea because of the way he left with the sun on his left or whatever the fuck, and the sun's still out, blah, blah, blah. Not enough elements. Even when they dive into the gorge and find out the secrets of what they're guarding and what these people mutations are, what is the cause, and it's not the fog, it's experimental missile type thing, and how they could get everything destroyed, because like there's a part in the movie that should have been really deep, it should have been really impactful, where I think Miles Teller was like, what about the next people who relieve us? They've got to end it, which is why they blow the cloakers and set off the bomb. So I think it's like 4.2 kilometer radius, if I remember from the screen. And, you know, it just, again, hits the helicopter Sigourney's on and the whole team dies. Some dumb mistakes, not enough good stuff to really draw me in. And if you're going to draw me into some of the cool sci-fi aspects of what's going on with mutation creatures, don't put them on a fucking horse. It looks stupid. It has no weight to it. And, you know, I'm gonna bring up something really dumb. Resident Evil, the first movie, Mila Jovovich, right? She's in the fucking facility. They're going down with the team, and she sees a dog, mutated dog from the video game, and it's a dog with like spaghetti sauce on him, with like dripping in. It is so much more impactful than any of the horses or the CGI in this movie. And yes, there are insane special effects. Look at Jurassic Park. Fucking who knows how long ago. And you know, Ridley Scott, Prometheus, those fucking looks amazing. And some of the aliens, so like, I don't like the fucking movies, but you're not gonna, you know, fault them for it. They don't become a detriment and a really heavy factor on tipping the scales. But this movie, when you factor in other stuff, it just tips the scales. You know, I don't want to see mossy woodmen mutations riding mossy mutation horses. It just looks dumb. And there's one scene where she's being dragged by it and it goes on too long with her getting knocked out. He's got to go save her, and there's a more close encounter. You've got fight scenes that sometimes are really good. Again, the actors trained, the stunt people trained, but then some just look shitty, and maybe the more shitty ones is where the CGI gets really fucking stupid. One part is I think they don't have a winch auto assembly, whatever the fuck they call it, to zip them back up to the top. But they find a zip line and use an old Jeep's winch, which is pretty cool because I remember from watching old Army movies. They use the winch and they're scaling the rock gorge face, whatever the fuck, to get back to their watchtower, and they get attacked. And it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. But some of the things are good. The choreography with their movements and covering each other, I can see that. Like, I'm not going to put it in the John Wick realm, but the amount of effort and the talent you have, whether it's spatial awareness, being a good actor, you know, knowing your cues and remembering what you were learned about holding a gun, like reloading. There are aspects here that work, but never enough. It never makes me wonder and get into it and want to explore further. And I just don't see the I would judge almost this movie by right now. I get a phone call from my connections in the press, yeah, and they say it's greenlit. There's The Gorge 2 is coming out. Like, I don't give a shit, and I think that can make a difference. Because like I watched Argyle, and as goofy as that premise is, as some bad CGI effects, a little too long in parts, I love that movie. And I would be super excited if there was an Argyle 2. Despite its flaws. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people trash that movie for the aspects and it weighs their scale down too much in the fact. Like, I would get it. But I'm not going to, you know, say I didn't fucking love it and enjoy it. This movie should have brought me into that realm, even if it's not a great movie, even if it's not made super well, and there, you know, problems with editing and some of the music choices. It should be a fun romp that I get through, and at the end, I'm interested. I'm curious. My mind's like, you know, I've said it on numerous times here. You know, I'm a dungeon master. I wrote a book. Blah 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 blah. You know, wow me. But I'm creative and my brain goes into a million different directions, and I'll even run adventures in my head and plan out connecting the movie to my campaigns or my adventures for my players, and it just doesn't work here. Nothing. I just don't feel it. Distracted in certain parts of the movie. Um, but you know what? A premise like this is what kind of maybe I'm getting to. A premise like this could be definitely pitched as a trilogy. Even if it's put on Apple TV, you've got a minimum budget. We know things can be done incredibly well. Make a good movie, dialogue, the interactions, and have them fall in love by the end of the first movie. The second movie is the dedication to each other, and possibly one of their downfalls. And the third movie is them, recuperating, trying to get out, but being pulled back in, whatever. But no, they went for everything in one movie with a pretty cool premise, with a decent fucking amount of scenes in here where it could have led to things. How dark and gloomy and tense moments should have been, but weren't. Revelations that should have made you really shake your head and go, fucking humanity. We're our own worst enemy. But it never weighs enough. It never feels impactful enough. As much as she's a joy to watch, I did it again, yeah. Beautiful, talented. Some scenes she's really good. And so is he, I think he played, did he play the fucking, I think he played Mr. Fantastic in that shitty Fantastic Four movie. I think that's where I know him from. The Miles Teller guy, but fine. Missed opportunity. This movie just didn't grab me enough. It didn't pull me in and make me like wonder, and it's just like a movie felt long than it should have been. If you're not going to cut out, maybe backload some of the romance and googly eye stuff and the attraction for later. Maybe do weird flashback type aspects when you're finding out how much they love each other throughout the movie. I don't know. But The Gorge is not a winner for me. I can see where people are going to like it. I think it's going to be critically bombed in a way. Like, they tried to do too much, this and that. Again, with most of my reviews or thoughts on things, when I'm done, I usually go and watch reviewers or people that I like and don't like to try to get a balanced opinion and see where, I fall in that. But I would imagine, I guess it has more interest than a Twilight for me, or things like that try to build romance into interaction and, scary monster tropes. So I'll give it that. It's probably more, if you put a gun to my head and said, "Oh, we're gonna watch The Gorge 2, one of the Twilight movies or whatever," I'll watch The fucking Gorge, Vampire Diaries. I'll watch The Gorge. Now, if you said Underworld, well, I'm going to watch that, because as bad as those movies got, they always had fun. And Kate Beckinsale sold it from the first movie to the last. And even when she wasn't in one of the fucking movies, which is a really good one, which talked about the lichens. But getting ahead of myself, let's get to the end of this. This movie is a mixed bag. It doesn't hold enough promise or pay off enough. Maybe a decent enough movie to enjoy popcorn on a certain night. You're not spending $50. It just didn't do it for me. So there you go, The Gorge. Missed opportunity. All right, I hope everybody's doing well. My best to you and yours. Take care.